I am Dax, and I am here because I would like to at least share my experience of things I've come run into in the world and see if I could help someone else. And if I could share a story that would help someone else, or even give advice, or even give resources to stuff that is needed in the community or wherever, that is why I'm here. I grew up in a little town. It was, at the beginning, it was only like 900 people. Um, and it was country living, very rural, and trains coming in and out all day long. I went to bed to trains and woke up to trains, and it was a fun experience. Horses, farmland, and lots of water. So, woke up in the morning, walk out my front door, and I could see water everywhere. So, living there was fun and exciting. The experiences of hard work, my grandmother made sure of that. And being able to um, drive at the age of 9 was awesome. Um, I lived on a farm, so I had to make sure that, driving was essential. As my grandmother said, you have to be able to pull your own weight. And if you can't pull your own weight, then you're dead weight, and then you're no good to nobody. So being able to do something was positive. Um, Working, I've been working ever since I was the age of 10 in tobacco fields, rice fields, cotton fields, and stuff like that. So hard work is something that I've been doing all my life, and dedicating to making a change. There was a lot of change that was needed in my town that didn't happen, that now I see spilled over to the world, the rest of the country. And now I'm one person trying to at least make a change where I'm at. There was a lot of racism down there, a lot of inequity, a lot of segregation. I come from a town, if you know, Brown versus the Board of Education. That was where I grew up at. So if you're familiar with Farmville, Virginia, you know where I'm from. Um, then that is where it all began. Uh, Majority of the time, people were fairly nice, but then there was also the cover of the nice. So you knew what the nice was, and there was no mistaking it. But being that, I was raised majorly, by my grandmother and my mom, they made sure that I knew exactly how to interact with that type of setting. So it just kept going from there. And then I moved to the city where it was like out and about, and it was prevalent that they didn't hold it in. So by the time I got to living in that big city, and knowing how to maneuver around the racism, and knowing how to segregation and all that, the city started evolving and becoming integrated more. And that's the way it became for a while. And now the city is moving forward, and they're doing pretty good as far as integrating everything. But time hasn't changed with the laws being one-sided. It's still, people of color get the harsher sentences than the ones of not. And then moving to another city on a whole opposite side of the world, and seeing that the whole city, well, the whole state actually was totally different from where I came from, was nowhere near the same. it was totally different. It was like an eye-opener that, things can change. It's just that, if I could bring some of piece of this city or this state back to my home state, and maybe that it could change. And trying to make two states combine, that's my goal, is to try to integrate laws from here to over there one day. The laws that I would want to, the main one is integration. Like over here, the laws, you're free to be who you are. In Virginia, you still have to, you're under the Thumb law. The Commonwealth is Thumb law, and Washington State is everybody's law. So I would want to change that first, because most people don't even realize that there is a different type of laws in different cities and states. So the Thumb law is where you are not able to do everything that you want to do and be free to do it. Here in Washington State, I can walk outside my door and be free to go to the grocery store when I want to do it, how I want to do it, every time I want to do it. In Virginia, you have to be very careful of what store you go to, how you go to that store. If you look a certain way, there are certain stores that you cannot go into. So there is like a makeup of who or what or where you can go, and that's called the Thumb law, and that's not here in Washington State. And majority of the time, the laws pertaining over there in Virginia, you have like health insurance is not equally accessible over there like over here. You have to worry about whether if you have like a car, even if you have a motorcycle, you can't get health insurance. Even if you are on Medicare or Medicaid, they still deduct that from your premium or whatever, so that counts against you. So those laws is one of the things I would want to be changed, all access of health care. Well, I left the city, I left my small town when I was roughly 21, and I decided that I wanted to move and make a change. There was some things in between there that had happened, and I decided that I needed to leave. So I left, packed my car up, and I left with $200, and I didn't know if I was going to make it across the state with $200, but by the graces of God I did. And I came here with little or nothing to Seattle. When I was 16, I had enlisted, and I stayed in for a year. Came out due to coming out, and yeah. So the next few topics that I would like to talk about for the next couple of weeks are family and homelessness and sexuality. Those are the next topics that are coming up this month. And why they are important to me is because family is the most important thing to people, and it brings everyone closer. This is a way for everybody to see my family, and I get to know yours. And as far as homelessness goes, we experience homelessness at a higher rate around the nation than any other country in the world. So right now, homelessness is rising due to the population of apartments getting much higher, jobs getting scarce, and not enough people having enough money to pay their bills, to keep their housing, or let alone to get into a house. With the nation's population of people who are getting on retirement, disability, and losing their job and getting on like in unemployment, the rise of that is happening around the nation. Homelessness is on a rise also due to the fact that that money is not enough to pay the bills, to keep them in a house or to get them in a house. And as far as sexuality goes, as far as being LGBTQI and R, we see more discrimination happening in those communities than a little bit. And with the rise of transgenders getting displaced, hurt, and murdered around the country, I feel that this is one topic that we should touch on and do more research on, get to know, and I would like to know more from you and give you my feedback on what I know. So the reason why I started doing this in the first place is because of my daughter. She was in school, she had took too many anti-seizure medication and got kicked out of school, and they put her out for 90 days, and then they decided that she needed to go to drug and alcohol treatment due to the fact that she had took too many anti-seizure medications at home. And she went to school and told them that she wasn't feeling well. So at that point, I went and found me a lawyer that could help get her back into school and try to minimize her time out of school. Then I went to bat trying to fight to make sure that she didn't have to go to drug and alcohol treatment due to the fact she was taking her own medication. And that is the reason why I came out to fight for other kids, because I found out that there was other children out there just like my daughter who was being suspended for little things like the time I found that there was a girl who was having menstrual cramps and she took Tylenol and she got suspended for 5 years, and I was like, whoa, that's a lot of time for just taking Tylenol. And then plus she still had to do drug and alcohol treatment, and then she would max out her time for graduating. And I was like, is that even possible that they could do that? Which I found out in the beginning that that's what they could do. And it was nothing that, it was the laws of the school. It was nothing that we could do about it but fight and try to get her back into school, and which we did. And at that time, it was hard. And I was fighting for 2 children instead of 1, and I was like, oh my God. And then I found out that there was even more kids out there like that. And so I jumped on the discipline bill and got with that, and I was like, I got to stick through this to make sure that there's no other kids out here that's being suspended on these charges and can't come back to school, losing the education. And God knows what they would do if they didn't go to school. They would drop out or not even come back, especially the one that was getting kicked out for 5 years. Who knows that, she might have not even thought about coming back to school, would have stayed out and not came back. So that is the reason why I started being active in the community and making sure that our voice are heard, because oftentimes we are the ones that's being left out, overlooked, and unseen. So because of my daughter, this burned up a fire in me to make sure that no other child would go through this ever again, and make sure that, if there was an injustice, I wanted to be there to make sure that this would never happen, because we as parents should be the protectors of our children. And if we're not the ones who's being an activist in their lives, then nobody else is. So that's my reason for doing what I'm doing, because there's a lot of parents out there that figures that the school will handle it, and I'm here to tell you no. You be the activist for your child, not let the children go to school and think that they're going to be the activist for their child or speak up for your child when you should be speaking up for them. Taking activists from the school, from your child over to the community, that is a step that you need to take all around. You need to be supporting each other, being a voice, being heard, being seen. out there for everyone, because when you're silent, nobody can hear you. When you're not doing anything and there's something going on, no one knows what's happening. But if you're the voice to what's being said, done, or heard, then your voice can be heard. I hear a lot of people saying that, oh, my voice is, I'm only one person and my voice is not going to be heard. But it takes one person to speak up, to make a movement, to do something, to make a change. So if you're that one voice, you're the 99% of that change to make happen. Thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button so you'll never miss an episode, and comment below and tell me something about yourself, because I am Dax